Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Mod Driven. We are out cruising around in the Honda Civic 6-speed manual transmission. This is the coupe model, by the way. And I've been getting a few questions on the channel. Rob, why the Honda Civic versus the Mustang? Because I had mentioned I narrowed my choice down to two vehicles. The Mustang GT, manual transmission, of course, and the Honda Civic manual transmission. So I thought I'd cover that, but before I get into it, a couple of things about the Honda Civic. One, I definitely have a rattle. You guys may be able to pick it up. I don't know, the road noise on this road is pretty loud, so maybe not. But it's right beside you over there, and I've narrowed it down. It's in the dash on that side, which means it's probably a little piece of plastic or maybe a wire, something underneath the dash that's contacting the bottom side and making this little noise. I can hear it occasionally even right now. It's going to drive me nuts. It's something I've got to resolve. First, I'm going to start at the top because it could simply be where the two dash panels meet. They do come together, the surface that you guys are sitting on, and then the front part of the dash right under the window. It could be something there. That's probably the easiest to fix because if I can actually see something, then I can trim it off or remove it or stick a little piece of something down there. I know, it's the ultimate solution, right? Stick a little piece of cardboard or something in between. Believe it or not, that solves a lot of the little rattles and things that you can get in the dash. And speaking of rattles, you know, they're kind of funny. When I first started hearing this, I thought it was actually right up here, right above the mirror in this area, because the window kind of acoustically bounces the sound back, of course, right at me, right? But I did figure out it was over there. A second thing I had to take care of today, if you saw one of my previous videos, or maybe it's a future video, depending on when I put this up, I did my home link remedy, my home link solution. It's where I hook a momentary switch onto the circuit board of a clicker, a garage door opener, and then hide that circuit board inside. I actually leave them inside the clicker themselves, but hide it somewhere. This time I decided to run the wire through the firewall and mount them in the engine bay. I've always wanted to do it that way. Typically, I put them just down in the footwell somewhere where you can't see them. But I just thought, you know, you have to change batteries in them occasionally, and I wanted them more accessible. So they're sitting right off to the left. I'll put a picture up, you guys can see. But when I did it, I actually had both openers, because I have two, sitting beside each other. And the one for the garage door worked just fine. But the one for the other item did not work well. It would work, but I would really have to be almost on top of it for it to actually get the signal and work. And a couple of reasons I thought for that. One might be that it's just being obstructed by too much metal for where it was sitting underneath the hood. Or secondly, it's getting interference from the other opener. And that's because I wired them both to the same momentary switch so I could just have one switch. The downside there is that it activates both garage door openers, but I'm far enough away from each that it doesn't really matter. It just got dark. I guess it's the sun. But anyway, they're far enough from each unit that they're operating that doesn't really make any difference. So it's not like I'm going to be at one and then the other one goes up. No big deal. So anyway, I moved the second one on top of the fuse box. I used some double-sided tape, put it just under the hood. This is the one that was not working well. And put it right on top of the fuse box, hoping it gets a better access, or gets better access to connect with what it's trying to control, that the signal can get out from under the hood. So far, I've tried it once today, and it seems to have done the trick. It worked perfectly. I didn't have to be on top of the unit to make it work. So thumbs up. I'm happy about that. I hope that the next time I go through, it'll actually work. But now to the main point of the video, I guess, just a little housekeeping stuff there. Why the Honda Civic versus the Mustang? First of all, let me say I love the Mustang. It's one of my favorite muscle type cars that there are. I've driven both, obviously. I've had Civics. I've had a Mustang about 400 years ago. I haven't had a modern, more recent Mustang. I had the old style, that kind of ugly looking one that they had in between. It was like the teenage years of the Mustang. That was a nice car. It was gutless. But I went with the Civic because, well, first and foremost, I have a lot of experience with the Civics. This is my, I don't know, third or fourth Honda Civic probably. And it is my probably second or third. Actually, I've probably had 5 or 6 of them. And this is my second or third manual transmission. And I always come back to the Honda Civic when I'm looking for a manual transmission because, frankly, it's just so good. Honda does such a good job with the manual transmission that it's very difficult to let it go, to leave it, to go to something else. Now, the Mustang wasn't bad. When I drove one 2-3 years ago, maybe, it's actually been more like 6 or 7 years ago, it was pretty good, but it wasn't as buttery smooth as what the Honda Civic is. And that's kind of what I went back to. You know, I was thinking, I'm going to drive this car a lot because I like driving a manual, so I want something that I'm going to enjoy, not something that I'm not. Like the Toyota Tacoma that I had. I had a manual transmission in a Tacoma recently. It was a 2020, same year as this car, and it was horrible. It was clunky, it was rough, it was notchy, reverse was in the wrong place. I mean, there just really wasn't anything good about it. So I didn't want to get into something like that. Not that the Mustang is like that. Secondly, I really just love the appearance of the Civic Coupe. I've never had a Civic Coupe before. Actually, my daughter did, but that was her car. I didn't really drive it at all. I think I drove it to test drive it, and then it was hers. But I really liked that car. I can't remember what year it was. It was probably 4, 5, 6 years older than this one, and it was an automatic. But it was a fun car to drive the brief point that I drove it. So I kept going back to that. And those two reasons are really why I went with the Honda Civic. And I think there are a lot more, what do you want to say, there are a lot easier mods to do, if that's not really even the right word, but a lot less technically involved. I don't know if that's the right word either. Mods for the Honda Civic. Just seems to me in my research on them, you can do things with the Mustang, of course, but really it only involves powertrain, exhaust. Maybe you can lower it if you're into that kind of thing. But there just isn't the same group or number of mods that can be done to enhance the car. You know, the Mustang is pretty darn cool the way it is. There's just not a lot to do to make it better. It's already there. And for me, having a YouTube channel, I don't want a car that's done. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. What am I going to do to it? Just drive around and that's it. So that's pretty much why. Love the car so far. Nothing wrong with it. There are a couple of age things. Strange that it's only a 2020, but a couple of age things that I'm going to be replacing soon. So stay tuned for those. They look like they're pretty easy. I've never done them before, so it'll be a first for me. Anyway, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I'd be curious to know, would you have preferred the Mustang GT? Let me know. Also, real quick, I do have 2 additional channels. Rob Motive, all about the Toyota Tacoma, and Rob Motive JT, all about the Jeep Gladiator. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? And while you're at it, smash the subscribe button here too. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.